Hey everyone! So I thought we would try something a little different today because I don't know about you, but I'm getting a little bit of holiday fatigue as far as the palettes coming out every few minutes. We have a new palette, very autumnal from Makeup by Mario. We have a new one also very autumnal from Anastasia Beverly Hills, and then we have what's rumored to be a new Lightworks, which has a section that looks very autumnal. So I wanted to take a little break today as the temperatures are getting a little cooler, although not cool enough, and show you some of my favorite palettes for fall. So if that sounds good to you, I'd really like it if you'd sit back and get yourself a cup of coffee or tea and join me as we walk through these palettes. Like, follow, subscribe, shop my links, Unsolicited Advice on Instagram and on YouTube. So I've pulled 20 palettes today, and I have a wide variety from small 5 pans to indies to luxury to extreme luxury and a little bit of everything in between. And I did make a rule for myself, which was I wasn't going to pull something that you couldn't readily get. So, like for instance, when I think fall, one of my all-time favorite palettes is Metropolis by Natasha Denona. She apparently had something stuck to the bottom of her. This is just quintessentially beautiful for fall, but it's not readily available. Although the commercial for it pops up on my YouTube every 5 minutes, it's not readily available, and you'd have to go to like a third-party market to get it, which there's nothing wrong with, but I wanted to stick to things that I think you could readily get today. So let's start with Natasha Denona and work our way through the list, and I'll even show you what I use today on my eyes. So starting with Madame Nedona, she has a lot of palettes that could work for fall. I'm thinking specifically of the bronze palette, the golden palette. Those could work for summer or fall. But a couple that I pulled that I'm just really fond of for fall are, first, one that came out towards the end of this summer, and it's the Mini Gloom palette. Here you see these dark browns, mustardy greens, teals. This is a really awesome entry into the Natasha Denona line, and it's reasonably priced at, I think it's like $26 or something, and you get Natasha's wonderful formula without having to buy a whole palette. Super easy to travel with, and I think that this would make a great gift, and I cannot wait until hopefully we get a full-size midi of this color story, because it's really exciting. It could go for all year long, I think, but for fall, I think it just works really well. Speaking of Natasha, another new entry of hers are her new Sculpt texture and tone palettes. And the one that I pulled today to show you is the Sculpt texture and tone Dramatic. And the reason I pulled this is you can see there's so many rich, deep, dark, warm tones in here with some beautiful metallics. I am indifferent on the two palettes that came out in this line. I think they're very beautiful. I just don't know if they're necessary. However, if you don't have a large selection of Natasha Denona palettes, something like this or its companion palette would be a great way into the brand and would work for a variety of skin tones. You could do a really dark smoky purple eye. You could do something more in the mustards or the browns or the deep browns, golds, bronzes. You could achieve some really interesting looks with this palette. And since it just recently came out, I'm sure that you can still find it. It's easily available. The last palette I pulled from Madame Nedona is one of my all-time favorite palettes of hers, and I think it could work all year long. But maybe it's because it came out in the fall. I hold a special place for it, and it came out, I think, 2 to 3 years ago at the fall, but I think it is still one of her all-time best palettes, and that's the Natasha Denona My Dream Midi palette. This palette is really spectacular. You should still be able to find it on her website, but you can see here you get blacks, browns, dark browns, plums. There's even a beautiful multi-chrome color here. You've got lighter tones over here, including reds and oranges. This is just a really beautiful palette. I think it works all year long. Like I said, I think it is one of her finest palettes. It has great formulas in it, but I could see how it could work really nicely for fall. So let's see, where do we want to go from here? Well, let's go with an indie brand. One that I really like, and I did notice is right back in stock, is the EBE's palette from Adept Cosmetic. If you've never tried Adept Cosmetics, they have really fantastic multi-chromes, some of the best on the market, a little thicker, but certainly the most impactful. And their mattes have really come along in the last few years, and the 3 palettes that they've put out this year have been spectacular. But looking at this palette, you could see why I would choose this one for fall. Browns, avocados, dark greens, berries, and all these multi-chromes that perhaps will show up better in a swatch. But you could get some really beautiful fall looks from this palette, and it's one of their best entries that they've had. Although I think all 3 palettes that they've put out this year, and rumor has it we're getting a 4th for the holidays, have been really, really spectacular. Okay, well, we're living in multi-chrome land since we looked at Adept, so we might as well look at kind of the queen of the multi-chrome, and that's Danessa Myricks. Also coming out with a new Lightwork 7 for the holidays that's going to be just like this palette. And if you follow my stories on Instagram, you will have seen some pictures. It looks similar to this palette, but lighter, perhaps more everyday. But the reason I pulled this is it's not necessarily for the whole palette. It's really just for this 6-pan here, which is beautiful for autumn. The gold, the dark red, the orange, this green. It's just a really beautiful color palette for fall and gives you those multi-chromes. And the nice thing about these palettes is you can remove these 2 panels and store them with the lid, and then put magnetic singles in here. And I would put things from Danessa Myricks Groundworks, or what's the other one called? Blooming something. It's the more red one. But pull some of the beautiful browns and reds from those 2 palettes and stick those in here with this, and you would have a gorgeous fall palette. I wanted to show you a few more sort of mid-priced palettes, and one of the ones that I really love, and I should love it for fall, is the Anastasia Beverly Hills Fall Romance palette. I kind of miss when Anastasia Beverly Hills did these. They did like 5 of these beautiful palettes, starting with, what was the first one? Nouveau, maybe? There was Cosmos. There was this one, a rose copper colored one. I really loved them. The copper one would be great for fall, but this one, Fall Romance, is absolutely perfect for fall. You can see here, you've got your hunter greens, your bright purple, those really shifty multi-chromes, and those browns in the corner, plus some pretty nice neutrals. This is a beautiful palette. I think the new Embers palette that's coming out for fall would be a beautiful addition to this collection. And actually the Spice palette from Adept Cosmetics would also be a really great fall palette. Did I say Adept Cosmetics? I'm at Anastasia Beverly Hills. See, I work a day job and it's stressful, and then I come home and I try to do these, but I'm tired. So you can tell sometimes. Okay, another sort of mid-price entry is from Lancome, and it is the Ideal Cafe Crush palette. This came out earlier this summer, and I have sort of mixed reviews on it. I love the color story. I love the makeup designer behind it, Shakia Daly. I love the packaging. I did find that this is a little more powdery than some of the other Lancome palettes, particularly the holiday palettes with Lisa Eldridge that I love and adore. But this is still a gorgeous color story. You can see here that this is supposed to model like colors you might find in a coffee shop. And you can see from all the neutrals to the dark browns, that deep dark purple, you could really get something autumnal here that would look really beautiful for fall and really make an impression. This is a really nice palette, and you could kind of stick to one side or the other because it's all pretty much metallics on one side and then one row is pretty much mattes. And you could get something really cool, something lighter over here for day in the fall and something over here darker and deeper for nights in the fall. Very nice addition to the Lancome set. While we're talking about Mother Eldridge, or Queen Eldridge, if we want to be British and proper, let's talk about two of her palettes that I think are really great for fall. Now, one I used to really like is Cinnamon, but that one I think is a little bit harder to get. It may even have been discontinued. So I wanted to lean on two that I think would be easy to get and I think are really beautiful entries for fall. The first one came out last year, and I think it could actually work for all times of the year, but it would be something for like daytime glam, and that is the Fawn palette by Lisa Eldridge. It's got two sort of duochromy, subtle dewy-chromy shades, and then some beautiful dark brown and mid-tone brown mattes in it. You can use this sparkly topper over here as an inner eye color. But this is a really beautiful palette for fall, and I think it really is more daytime friendly. It's more wearable, but you obviously could kick it up if you really wanted to lean into the multi-chrome. The other palette came out rather recently, and it's the Desert Gleam palette. Now, some could say this is a summer palette, and it could be, but I also think it's a beautiful palette for fall. Maybe it's the brown, the dark chocolatey brown, maybe it's this kind of mid-tone neutral, or maybe it's the hunter greens and the khakis. But I can see how this would be a great palette for fall, summer, year-round really. But it's sort of like a wonderful addition that I think really would make an impression in the fall. Sort of like Natasha Denona's Yucca, if you remember that palette a few years ago. It came out at the beginning of summer, and it was a great palette for summer. But the whole time I was looking at the color story, I thought, well, that would also be wonderful for fall. And that's kind of what we have here. These are beautiful, impactful shadows, and if you've never tried Lisa Eldridge's formula before, I'd strongly suggest that you try it. It's really beautiful, the packaging is top-notch, and I really like what she's done here. Well, I wanted to pull a few luxury palettes because, well, that tends to be what we look at here. And so kind of what we have left is luxury, although they're at different price points. The first one I pulled while we're still overseas is from Victoria Beckham. Now, she's got a number of her palettes that would work really well for fall because her palettes tend to run very deep and can get away from you if you don't use a light hand. But one that I really love year-round, but I also think would be gorgeous for fall, is the one called Victoria. You see this really stunning dark red here, this almost black brown, this kind of color here that replicates what her pot shadow mink looks like, and then this kind of neutral brown tan color. Victoria Beckham relaunched these this year, and they are very deep and extremely pigmented. But with a light hand, you could get something that would be really beautiful. And then, of course, if you want to go full ham, you can get full glam with these palettes, which I kind of think was her intent. Chanel. Well, Chanel has come out with a couple of palettes recently that I still think you could purchase and could easily obtain. The first one came out earlier this fall, and just looking at it, I'm like, that's a quintessential fall palette. And it is the Boutons Couture palette. It's just 4 beautiful brown shades from very light to very dark, but there's also kind of a purpley undertone in this palette. It's just a really unique brown color story. The one thing that I wish with this one, and a couple of others that we'll look at, including the one that's on my eyes, is that they had something even lighter in there for kind of an inner eye color, but that's easily obtainable by just grabbing a single. This is a really beautiful palette, and you can kind of see even in the light here how this shade here kind of goes from brown to purple to gold. It's a beautiful palette for fall. I think it's going to sell really well. Well, I think it already has. It's already sold out once or twice because it's an everyday neutral palette that people can wear. But I think you really could make an impression with this for fall. The other palette might surprise you a little bit, and it hasn't come out yet, but it will come out, and you will be able to get it from a Chanel boutique or your Chanel sales associate. Just keep pressuring them until they're able to locate these for you, and it's the gorgeous high intensity 9 pans from Chanel. Really, all 3 of them could be used all year long. They're so editorial and highly pigmented. But the one that I picked is called the New Singular. Now, first looking at this, I think that the light green and the pink in the center maybe make you automatically think spring. And I could see how this could be used for spring with a light hand and just sticking with the lighter colors. However, this pumpkin brown is absolutely gorgeous. There's kind of a soft black. There's a beautiful mid-tone brown and this deep, dark purple metallic. It's really beautiful. Paired with this kind of avocado green and this topper. This you could get some really amazing looks with for fall. When I reviewed this palette, I said one suggestion I had was to perhaps consider color blocking it. And I think that that's how you'll be most successful with this color story. What I did the other night, which worked out really well, was put this kind of pumpkin color and diffused it all throughout my crease. I ran this green color on my inner corner and a little bit along the lower lash line. And then I stuck this purple pretty much all over the lid, and it turned out really interesting. Used this brown as a liner, and then on the inner corner, I stuck a little bit of a mixture of these 2 shiny glittery shades. It sounds like it would be ugly, but it was, but in that beautiful, artistic way, very 70s, and I think it was a really cool look, especially for fall. YSL has a ton of quads that would be great for fall because YSL loves a brown gold color story. There are so many brown and gold palettes from YSL. I just wanted to grab 2 today to show you. The first one is called Majestic Red. And this one has a little bit of a brown, but it's more of a smoky burgundy color. This is an interesting color story. Like I said, there are so many Overdoor, Stora Dolls, Captivating Dupes. There's so many browns and golds in the YSL line, including the Christmas release this year. Which Golden Lust, I think, which is a golden brown palette. I wanted to pull 2 that were a little different. This one goes very heavy on the burgundy and magenta colors, and I think is really beautiful for fall. This neutral kind of pinky brown color is a really beautiful color to stick in the crease. The other one that I think is a nice addition for fall is Over Orange. This came out last year, I believe, and it just screams fall to me. If you look at it, you've got this mid-tone to dark. I'd say it's dark, but it's not terribly dark, kind of caramel color, this lighter brown, and then these 2 oranges, including this orangey topper. You don't see a ton of orangey palettes. This would be beautiful for summer, but it would also be beautiful for fall if you really leaned into that kind of burnt caramel color. I think that this is a really excellent palette, and it really could transition you from summer to fall. Prada. Well, Prada has a number of color stories that I think could work really nicely for fall. But I picked 2, one from the original collection and then one that recently came out. The one from the original collection is still probably my all-time favorite Prada quad, and I can't put my finger on why that is, but every time I use it, it is perfection. And it's the quad called Pulse. This was my top palette of the year a few years ago, and you would look at it and kind of not understand why, especially given there's no browns or golds in here. But if you're looking for something a little different that still has the feeling of fall, I think you'd really enjoy this. It's got this deep plum purple color over here, this kind of fiery orange color, and this super metallic, saturated metallic. If you've never tried one of the Prada quads, the metallics in here are top notch, and the formula of the Prada quads is not like other brands. It's creamier, it's got a lot of pigment right off the bat, and I just think it's really special. This is one of my all-time favorite colors, particularly of mattes. I don't know why, but there's just something about this color. It's kind of like the color of grayish lipstick, like from MAC from the 90s, but it's one of my all-time favorite matte shadows. It's actually kind of more of a satin, but this is an alternative way to do fall that's not brown, red, green, and really can create a super dramatic look. Now, if you're looking for brown, then Prada earlier this year came out with the Primula palette. And in this palette, I actually have it in a refill packaging because much like with Louis Vuitton, I purchase the component and then I just kind of swap in the refills. But in this case, this is the Prada Primula palette, and it's actually what I have on my eyes today. Beautiful tan kind of crease color that's very neutral. These are pretty warm, but this kind of has like a sienna, Santa Fe feel to it. And then this here is a beautiful silver to vermilion red to green multi-chrome. What I did today is pretty easy. I stuck this on the crease and under my lash line. I put this middle color all over the lid. I deepened up the outer corner and the outer right side of my lash line with this deep dark brown. And then I put this metallic shade pretty much all over my lid on top of this brown. Much like I said with Chanel, the one thing that I do find disappointing with these is there's not that fifth shade that's super light that you can put on your inner corner. But what I do in those cases, and I am a fan of a bright, shiny inner corner, as you can see, is just grab one of your favorite singles. My favorite sort of shiny impact right off the bat are the Half Magic Glitter Pucks. There's been 3 colors of these. You can get them at Ulta, but they are just pure glitter in its finest form, but it's not chunky, it's not piecey, it doesn't scratch. But this is the newest color here, and it's called Glimmer Pop, and it's kind of a gold metallic. And if you can see, that is liquid metal. And I just kind of dotted it on my, I didn't go fully in and swirl like I just did, but I just kind of tapped it, pulled some, and then lightly did like a scattered effect on the lids and used it on that inner corner. So that's a way you can kind of turn up any look, particularly these fall looks with these palettes that can go very dark very quick. Or if you wanted to take that look from daytime to night, you could throw some of this on. If you've never tried those, it is excellent. And let me show you what it looks like. I don't know if that's going to come across, but they are the shiniest, most beautiful glitters. There's a pink one, a silver one, and this new kind of muted gold one. They are so reflective. Think like Pat McGrath Shimmer Shade. They also have kind of a cooling sensation, which is really nice. Pat McGrath. Well, Pat McGrath has many palettes that could easily work for fall, and I have just pulled 3 1.5 of them today. The first one is one that's very affordable, easy, stick it in your wallet or your purse, and you can travel with it, and it works all year long. It's really beautiful, but for fall, it really is wonderful. It is the, what is this little fucker called? Sublime Smoke. And it has 6 of Pat McGrath's sort of signature colors. These are all found in Mothership, so this is her highest level of formula. It's not the special shades. For that, you'd have to go to another Pat McGrath, or you could grab something like this Glitter Puck. But it's 3 beautiful high impact metallics and 3 really stunning mattes. This is the top of the line Pat McGrath formula, and she's done 2 of these. She did a purple one, which might be a nice addition if you're looking to introduce more purple into your fall. But this one in particular is really, really beautiful. It has that, what's it called? Extreme Mahogany and Extreme Dusk, those 2 mattes on the lower corner. Well, it's upper here because it's flipped. But these are so deep and so saturated. But the nice thing about Pat McGrath mattes is you can really work them out to where it's just a wash of color and then go back in and reuse them again and really intensify on the corner. It's sort of like you're getting 3 or 4 shadows for the price of 1, and that's one thing that's really cool about Pat McGrath that a lot of brands can't do. So this is a really great, reasonably priced and easy to travel with edition. I think it was 3 years ago when that Prada quad that I mentioned, Pulse, came out. I kind of think I had it tied that year with another palette as my favorite palette of the year. And the palette that I tied it with was a 4-pan. It was 2 4-pans that year. And this is the Pat McGrath Luxe Quad in Venetian Sunset. This is a gorgeous quad. It is so freakishly beautiful. It can be used all year long, obviously, and it would be beautiful in the summer. In fact, it came out with her bronzer line. But the shades in here, this is the perfect blending neutral, a reddish brown, perfect inner corner or all over the lid, and then the most stunning gold shade that really has a kick to it and has some interesting other colored sparkles in it. It's just really beautiful. A lot of people complain about Pat McGrath all the time. I get real tired of it. And saying that they miss the baked shades. Well, I miss them too. But the formula that is in this particular special shade and the formula that's in like the last 3 motherships for the special shades, it is really special and impactful. It's just not baked. When I think fall, besides Metropolis from Natasha Denona, one palette comes to mind. And it's actually the first Pat McGrath palette I ever bought, and I bought it based on a recommendation from Kinky Sweat, Alicia Archer, and the fact that there was a sale at the time. A lot of people have mixed feelings on this palette. I've never quite understood why, but when I think fall, the thing that comes to mind is the Pat McGrath Mothership in, as you see my little gold sticker, 6. This is Midnight Sun. This is fall to me. This quad here would be a beautiful daytime quad. You could incorporate a red or this sort of huntery, wicked kind of green here. And then the special shades are a really cool way to incorporate coppers and this purple color. When I think fall, I think of this palette. And I think that it might be a little challenging for some people to kind of figure out, and maybe that's why, or maybe it's not so everyday. But if you simplify your approach with Pat McGrath, maybe just pick a crease color, an outer corner, stick this on the inner color, and pick one of the metallics or one of the special shades and stick it on the lid. I think that that will work best. I think this is really beautiful. This green is incredibly popular, but these special shades in particular, it's just a gorgeous palette for fall. Well, we're up to 20, and it would be silly of me to not include the ultra luxury. And for that, we're going to stay with our Queen Mother, Miss Pat McGrath, since she is the creative director for Louis Vuitton La Beauté. And I have not received all of my refills from Louis Vuitton. I have a lot of thoughts on that. So I know that like Forces of Nature would be a beautiful palette for fall if you're looking for something with the greens in it. But the one that I did receive, and I do think is beautiful all year long, but really for fall, is the palette Monogram Rouge. Now this palette is really stunning. It's got the kind of satin matte formula that's in these palettes, but then it's also got kind of a beautiful kind of copper color and this really stunning deep burgundy color. I have the videos out there if you want to see it. I know everybody has thoughts on it, but I'm really pleased with these palettes. I did only get the one component, and then I've just been refilling it and keeping the refills in the same packaging like I do with the Pradas, and it works perfectly fine. I can just pop them in and out as I want to film them. But the pigment payoff on these is really nice. It's not super subtle like a traditional Chanel, not those 9 pans. But it's also not super duper intense like the Pradas or the Pat McGrath motherships. It's buildable, it's super refined, really elegant. And so I think to end the list with something that is just really special and great for fall, really all year long, and going to the holidays and make a nice gift, the Monogram Rouge palette from Louis Vuitton, I think would be a real winner. So I hope this has helped you today. Think about palettes that you might already have or that you want, and give you a way into them. You know, think about, can I shop my stash this fall as I'm saving money for all these holiday releases that are being thrown at us? And can I use some palette that maybe I haven't used in a while that you may have, and you just dust it off, and if you've taken good care of them and kept them in a cool climate, then they should be perfectly fine. That was 20 palettes ranging from $25 to $250. But hopefully it gave you a wide range of things you can do for the fall, and really hopefully dig into some palettes that you already have and rediscover them for the new season. If you like this content, again, please like, subscribe, follow along, Unsolicited Advice on Instagram and YouTube, and please consider shopping my links. It doesn't cost you anything if you want to get any of these palettes, but it does help out this little channel. I'm so grateful for everyone that's been joining, for all the comments and engagement that I've got recently, including a couple of you who have asked for a video where I just explain who I am. So I'm going to work on that against my better judgment, and then hopefully get that out soon. I hope you've enjoyed today's video. I'm ready for fall. I'm ready for the weather, and hopefully now you've got some great ideas for fall. Talk to you all soon. Bye.